Kia ora everyone, today I sit here reminiscing about how good we had it with the LEGO Superheroes line all these years ago, with today's set being a small little throwback release. This here is set 76077, Iron Man Detroit Steel Strikes, which released in 2017, containing just 377 pieces, 3 exclusive minifigures, and retailing for 30 USD at the time, or 60 NZD. Nowadays, in a brand new condition, this thing seems to go for around $110 NZD, or just shy of 70 NZD in second-hand condition. The set overview here is really cool actually. We have Iron Man as our hero fighting against Justin Hammer. We also get an Agent Coulson and his car of Lola as the side build. The item the set is named after here is easily to me the least interesting part, a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. I want to start with talking about the Lola Car here first, because it was used in all of the LEGO games and mentioned throughout the MCU movies. I love period piece setting in LEGO, so seeing a vintage car like this was really appealing to me. This car here is based around a 60s style Chevy Corvette, though I don't love the height that this car has to the ground because of the massive wheels there, but it does have a purpose that we will be covering in a sec obviously. Printed tile of the license plate here is a really nice touch of detail for the car. You can see what the design looks like underneath here. We've got some massive wheels and strange functions for getting the wheels into the build. It does make for a rather interesting silhouette. I do love that smoothness of the vehicle at the back there, but the front leaves a lot to be desired. It just doesn't feel as clean as it should with those long tiles there. Some seated area for Coulson there. Inside we have a steering wheel and a control panel and some switches. Those blue parts there almost look like gas pedals to me, though they wouldn't function properly with how he's been sitting. It's an older build style for the vehicle here too, which does mean that we actually have functioning doors, always something that I appreciate in the older builds. We really just didn't know how good we had it back then 7 years ago. I'll take a look at the wheels feature now, because these knobs here at the end, you can move them and now the wheels will shift. The car can activate a flight mode, which is pretty similar to the shield car from that Spider-Man set that released a couple of years prior to this one. It doesn't really make for a good movement feature though. The car is pretty restrictive once you put it into flight mode. Another detail of this feature here are the stickers on these bricks of tech looking stuff. It's a fun thing to play around with here, and it's very distinct for this theme, and it looks pretty pleasing despite the small complaints I have. But it's now time to take a look at that mech. This is a mech that I am not very familiar with, so forgive me if I have a couple of questions or get some things wrong. Some quick searches online show that the armor looks pretty similar to like a Hulkbuster, Ironmonger sort of thing, and the wiki states that this isn't actually piloted by Hammer himself, interestingly enough. My familiarity with this thing just comes from the LEGO video games, in which this thing appears as a big fig, which tells me more about how the design should be interpreted into a set. It's interesting to see such a dedicated mech build, and one that appears almost pretty accurate. It loses a couple of things with areas like the pilot section and the head. Also, the weapons have been swapped over on their arms, but more on that later. I do really love mech builds in LEGO. I've been a pretty big fan of this set idea since the Exoforce line, which seems to be what LEGO styles most of their mechs on anyway. It's got some interesting flair here, like these wings at the back and the high heels designed for the feet, and some decent articulation that even mechs of today lack. The legs here first, we actually have some knee joints here as well as some nice sticker designs for the upper legs there. I do really like the satirical propaganda color scheme here that feels like it's screaming Team America. You just know that this suit was built in universe for all the right intentions, of course. Upper leg movements are minimal here, just some forwards and backwards stuff. Impressed with the knee though, usually something that's been skipped over. The cockpit area has a sticker there of some sort of robotics design. I actually can't really tell here if I'm honest. The shoulder armor there pegs into that joint. That white brick feels like it's an old school bionicle part connected into the limb. We have full rotations of the hand and the arm because both are latched onto ball joints, and I showed the sticker for the chest before, but here you can see that the hands also have some sort of sticker design as well, true Patriot style. The fingers design are what I believe to be pretty standard. You can move them outwards and actually fit a minifigure in between them, which is pretty cool, but you won't be able to make a fist-like gesture or anything with these kinds of hand builds. The first weapon I want to look at here is the hand cannon, which has been used as part of the buildable figures line for years now. You spin that wheel located at the back and the studs will go flying. This is fun in theory, but also a nightmare actually in practice. These studs will just go everywhere, so we won't be firing them all today. It leads us to the next weapon on the other arm here, the chainsaw, which is just attached at the side and can spin around. There's no real feature for this thing, but interesting placement because from the source material that I was looking at, it looks like the weapon should actually be swapped over. If I'm wrong on this, do let me know, but I think the gun and the chainsaw are on the wrong arms. As for our piloting section, it just opens up like so to reveal a standing area for our minifigure. He wears the suit just like the Exoforce line. Final parts here are these adjustable sections up top, which can be changed based on your personal preference. It's a pretty cool design overall. Of course, like all superhero sets, the real intrigue here comes in the form of the minifigures. All three of these guys are still exclusive to this day, and all three of them are really cool as well. This here is Invincible Iron Man, who to my memory, I think was one of the first times that we were seeing a brand new Iron Man helmet design. And I genuinely mean it when I say this, I think it's one of my all-time favorite LEGO Marvel figures. He's definitely one of my favorite Iron Mans for my personal collection. We have some pieces on his feet there to make him look like he's flying. He's also included those shooters where if you press down against the arm, he will fire the projectile at the enemy. If you remove all those extras and the helmet, we can see the Tony Stark appearance underneath, which is still just the same Robert Downey Jr. likeness as seen in many other Iron Man sets. Small details that always bothered me was the fact that the comic variants and the movie variants of the superheroes would still use the same face prints as one another, but I think it's just a me thing really. He did include a hairpiece, which is actually pretty rare to see on Iron Man figures, and a double-sided expression where usually we would see the visor mode, but this time we have an angry expression instead. And this is Agent Phil Coulson, who became a very popular character amongst fans through the movies. This figure is not specifically based around Clark Gregg from those movies, but really it's close enough actually. I've used his parts plenty of times for customs over the years because of how versatile those prints are. I love the expression with the headset on, and his open mouth expression looks a lot like Saul Goodman. The suit here is useful too, just a generic suit. Best of all, double-sided expression of a serious look with some glasses trying to act professional, which I have used for Neo from The Matrix. Another incredibly useful head design that fits themes outside of this one. Coulson is a really cool figure to have. It's a shame that he's remained exclusive for all these years. And this here is Justin Hammer, who basically seems to repeat a lot of what was said about Coulson once you remove the helmet. The helmet is the same as the Iron Man figure, and this is, I guess, supposed to be used as the mech's head. It's a really cool and goofy looking costume, one that feels fitting for something like The Boys, one that I imagine would have been worn because this person wearing it thinks that they look really cool. Removing the helmet there shows the expressions underneath, and the face that also included an extra hairpiece, one of my favorite ones at the time. And you can clearly see how this is supposed to be resembling Sam Rockwell from the movie of Iron Man 2, and it's funny because, like I said, Google shows that Hammer isn't supposed to be the one piloting this mech. A double-sided expression here to show an even better Sam Rockwell expression in my eyes. I've seen a lot of people online say it looks a lot like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. A strange inclusion, and yeah, call me a hypocrite about him and Coulson, but I really like these figures quite a lot. Instructions for the set come included in 2 booklets, one for Lola, one for the mech, and we also have a small comic book. The instructions are pretty cool. They've got a little bit of colored theming on the inside there with some blue tones. The back here shows the set all complete and a couple of the features. We have some advertisements for the other Marvel sets at the time as well. Looking back, I actually really love all 3 of these, despite the fact that the Hulk set is just 2 massive oversized monster trucks. Just really weird and vibrant looking, and thus fitting for the comics and cartoon-like feeling. We also have an advertisement here for the website of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. The other instruction booklet is the exact same kind of deal, just standard until we reach the end here. We have the set all complete, some of the features are shown off here, and the inventory list, and that wraps up our instructions. LEGO Superheroes back in the day used to release with comic books included that would tell the in-universe stories for the scenes depicted in the sets. As the theme went on, LEGO would eventually make one comic releasing the same one in every set, until eventually stopping the idea entirely. You can see here that this comic shows the stories of the 3 sets I showed off before that released as part of this wave. So overall, I think it's a good one. I adore those minifigures here, and the value was pretty standard at the time as well. The inclusion of the car is decent, but it's the fact that it takes inspiration from a specific classical era of vehicles that really wins me over the most. Detroit Steel is fine, it's a nice mech, but the source material doesn't really interest me that much. What we have here is a throwback design to how LEGO Marvel sets used to be, with really desirable figures and rather unique builds, and actually affordable price tags. This is the era that I think a lot of us are missing the most. Plus, despite the figures all looking like the MCU variants, the fact that it was supposed to be a set that's outside of the movies is always going to be something that appeals to me specifically. If you enjoyed this look at a LEGO Marvel 2017 set, liking this video and subscribing to the channel does help to support us in making more videos like this one. Ka kite on everyone, I hope to see you all next time.